Part 1. You will hear a woman telephoning for information regarding a technology event in the area. First, you'll have some time to go through questions 1 to 7. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Good morning. This is the Technology Exhibition Helpline. John speaking. How may I help you?
Hello, John. I'm visiting the city with my husband and 2 children, and we've heard about the Tech Expo happening this week. We'd like to join in some of the events, but we need more details. Could you tell me what's scheduled, the costs, and so on?
Absolutely. We have quite a few activities planned for the week. Is there something in particular you've seen or heard about already?
Yes, I've noticed a drone show advertised for Saturday evening. Are there still seats available?
There are, though the cheaper $10 tickets have gone, so only the $15 seats remain. It's still well worth it. The show is fantastic.
Great. And could you confirm the location? I think I saw it was in a new building near the main exhibition hall.
The Advanced Technology Building. You won't confuse it with the old engineering wing because it has large glass doors at the entrance. Also, there's an extra highlight not listed on some of the flyers. Tim White is going to make an appearance. Have you heard of him?
Oh, really? Is he a drone pilot?
He's actually a prominent electronics specialist. He's debuting a brand new device that synchronizes multiple drones at once. It's really cutting edge and hasn't been shown in public before.
Wow, my children will love that. Now, the next event I'm curious about is the coding competition. I noticed a big banner near the exhibition entrance about it.
Yes, that's a popular one. Anyone can enter, and it costs $5 per participant. The competition takes place behind the lounge on the ground floor of the building across from the Advanced Technology Lab. You'll see signs directing you once you get inside.
And is there a prize if you win?
Indeed. They're giving away tablets to the first place finishers in each category. That announcement will be made right at the end of the competition. If you plan to sign up, you'll need a registration form, which you can find at the kiosk in the atrium. The kiosk has bright LED screens, so it's hard to miss.
Perfect. I'll head there as soon as I arrive. Now, I'm also keen on the AI workshop. The kids and I are both fascinated by artificial intelligence. Is it really free?
Completely free, yes. It's being held in Blackthorn Hall, which is on the opposite side of the main expo area. If you enter through the east gate, you should see a large sign pointing the way.
Right, so I'll look for the east gate. Could you spell Blackthorn for me, please?
Certainly. It's B-L-A-C-K, Black, T-H-O-R-N-E, Thorn. Blackthorn.
I got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, moving on. The session runs all day, starting from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. But the best part is around 5 p.m., when a well-known engineer will be doing live demonstrations of AI-powered robots. I suggest arriving early if you want a good seat.
Thanks for that tip. We'll make sure we don't miss it.
Before you hear the rest of the recording, you have some time to read questions 8 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 8 to 10.
By the way, I noticed there are a few demonstrations mentioned on your website. My children are aged 6 and 9, so I want to make sure what's appropriate for them.
Right, we've got 3 demonstrations this afternoon. Let me list them. The future of robotics, wearable tech trends, and fun with circuits. Each one is geared toward a different audience.
Could you elaborate more on that, please?
Sure. The future of robotics is mainly for children. They'll have interactive mini robots and simpler hands-on activities that kids love.
That's great. My 2 kids will probably find it, engaging.
Next, wearable tech trends is definitely mainly for adults. It deals with pretty specialized topics, such as biometric data and advanced design software. The younger ones might get bored quickly.
Right, I'll keep that in mind. What about fun with circuits?
That one is suitable for people of all ages. In fact, it recently won a local tech festival award for being family-friendly. There'll be circuit kits, fun quizzes, and demonstrations that even older visitors find fascinating.
Fantastic. That's very helpful. Thank you so much, John.
My pleasure. Enjoy the Tech Expo, and feel free to call us again if you need any more information.
That is the end of part 1. You now have some time to check your answers. Now turn to part 2. Part 2. You will hear a speech about professional development courses at a training academy. First, you have some time to read questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Welcome everyone, glad to see you all here. In this segment of your training day, we'll be looking at some of the more specialised professional development courses we organise here at Bright Horizons Training. The training sector has become quite competitive, and it's essential to stay aware of how our client demographics are shifting. In terms of age ranges, the over 60s represent a steadily growing market, and we predict this to continue. On the other hand, the fewest enrolments are from the 32 to 40-year-olds, and we haven't observed any sign of that number going up. The 20 to 31-year-olds remain our largest segment overall, but interestingly, they have also shown the biggest decline in registrations over the last 2 years. In contrast, we've recorded solid growth among both the 45 to 55-year-olds and the over 60s. As for the 41 to 44-year-olds, that group's bookings have remained relatively stable, but they haven't risen to the extent we once hoped. The pattern we've noticed across almost every age group is the increasing popularity of programs that combine technical training with practical, hands-on projects. I want to clarify that we're not talking about those flashy, short courses that are purely motivational and high energy, without much in-depth skill building. What we offer typically involves real-world practice in emerging business fields or creative industries. In addition, these programs aren't necessarily cheaper than standard courses. In many cases, it's quite the opposite. But they often run in locations away from big cities, providing participants the chance to interact with local professionals and gain insight into regional industries. Many of our clients have highlighted this local networking as a major advantage. Of course, these programs also help participants cultivate new competencies. But a significant draw is the opportunity to build lasting connections with peers who have similar career goals.
Before you hear the rest of the speech, you have some time to read questions 15 to 17. Now listen carefully and answer questions 15 to 17.
Now moving on, let me share some examples of the specialised courses we run. Our project management intensives are offered in 3 international centres: Singapore, Germany and South Africa. They're open to participants of all experience levels, from newly certified professionals to seasoned managers seeking recertification. Internal project management intensives can be offered in 3 different centres for training for certification programs. We have always had a strong roster of instructors. Some have been with us since the beginning. And this year we're adding 6 more, allowing us to increase the variety of session topics in each location. Turning to our business writing masterclasses, we do things a bit differently from many other training companies. While it's common to focus strictly on formal corporate communication in the same language as the host country, we prefer to include a diverse range of writing tasks covering multiple languages. Apart from that, we emphasize clarity and persuasion, as these skills are now in high demand across global organizations. Our digital marketing workshops take place in countries as varied as Sweden, Brazil, and the UAE. Participants can expect a thorough exploration of social media analytics, content strategy, and email campaign optimization. Group sizes are intentionally kept to 8 people or fewer, so each participant receives personalized feedback from the experts. This project resulted in the publication of supposedly out-of-date, and after each workshop we arrange a networking event with guest speakers, allowing participants to share their upcoming projects and discuss potential collaborations.
Before you hear the rest of the speech, you have some time to read questions 18 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 18 to 20.
Moving on to our professional development courses that emphasize well-being and lifestyle balance, you'll see we've diversified significantly. For Ireland and Portugal, they each host week-long sessions aimed at improving general career health. These sessions begin with an individual consultation with a personal coach, who helps participants pinpoint specific areas of stress and create a tailored action plan. By the end of the week, many find they've managed to reduce a large portion of the pressure they experience in their day-to-day professional routines. In Canada, we've launched a 2-week intensive for those specifically looking to address issues around public speaking. This includes coaching from voice and speech trainers, plus daily workshops in presentation skills. Many participants say practicing in front of small groups and receiving immediate critiques helps them conquer stage fright more effectively than standard programs. Finally, in New Zealand, our courses focus on team-building adventures. A popular option here is the Leadership Outdoors program. Groups participate in structured activities across different levels, accommodating the complete beginner through to experienced managers. We even offer a version of the course tailored specifically for startups, which tends to be a real hit with young entrepreneurs eager to strengthen their teams. Thank you for listening. I hope this overview has given you a clear idea of the professional development courses Bright Horizons Training provides. If you have any further questions...
That is the end of part 2. You now have some time to check your answers. Now turn to part 3. Part 3.
You will hear a conversation between two students discussing plans for an upcoming geology field trip. First, you have some time to read through questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Good morning, Sharon.
Hi, Eric. I was thinking about where we should go to collect samples for our geology project.
Yes, we should start planning that field trip soon. Have you come up with any ideas?
I'm not sure about it, as I've not been there, but the Laxford Bray Road section in Scotland would be a great place. I guess they were cutting through this hill to build a section of road in the past, and it revealed all these interesting colourful layers of stone of all different types.
Yes, that's a good idea. I've been there, and it has some great examples of layering and the processes of rock formation. But unfortunately, they don't allow visitors to take samples, and that's something we will need to do. We can certainly take some photographs of geological formations there, though.
Ah, I didn't realise they don't allow sampling at Laxford Bray. Well, we could take a quick visit there and then go to another nearby location. I was thinking about Sicker Point. It has quite a lot of fantastic coastal rock formations. You can actually see examples of the formation of mountains and other complex rock structures, all made in a variety of different stone. It was great to see all of them in just one location.
And what about sampling there?
Yes, they do allow collecting of samples from the site, but you have to buy special permits for school or research groups. I think it's only £20 per group, so that's definitely an advantage of that site.
Yes, I like that idea. I was at Sycamore Point in the early 2000s, and again 5 years ago. Both times I was very impressed with the geological variety. I think we can get some fine specimens.
What should the focus be for the sampling?
Well, maybe we can gather specimens of rock that have been formed through one or more of the 3 primary types of geological formation: erosion, deposit, and folding, which should all be available at Sycamore Point.
Right, that should be straightforward enough.
But we will have to be careful not to damage any formations or the natural surroundings when collecting samples.
Absolutely. I know there are certain areas that are off limits for sample collecting, so we will need to find out where they are and avoid them. And I think there are also guidelines we need to follow with regard to the quantity of specimens we can take and removal procedures as well. We can probably find that information on their website.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you can read through questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
And there is already quite a lot of research on the site that we can review before we go on the trip. I think it might be a good idea to review some of James Hutton's work and include some of his study findings in our project. He discovered Sycamore Point's geological significance back in the 1700s.
That's right. He studied geological formations at the site. He wrote a lot about folding and deposition processes and how they created the stone structures at Sycamore Point. You know, we might want to focus on those processes for our project.
Yes, that would work. We can probably add the erosion process too. There are lots of examples of wind and water erosion there. It's fascinating to see how the elements have created so many interesting shapes.
In that case, we should probably include other academic sources in addition to James Hutton. What about the research of James Hall and John Playfair? They worked directly with James Hutton and helped in mapping the area, focusing on specific types of formations, such as those created by erosion, because the variety at the site was so vast. I think we can include their findings in addition to Hutton's work.
Also, didn't Ian Stewart do research at Sticker Point?
You're right. Yes, he's even made some documentary videos about the significance of the site.
Yes, I watched those. They were quite informative and included a lot of current geological information on the site. So, it might be good to include some of Stewart's research for a contemporary viewpoint.
Yes, we should do that. Anyway, I don't have anything to do tomorrow morning, so I can write up the plan summary. I know you're busy Monday, but maybe on Tuesday you can start collecting research data from other academic sources about the geological formations at the site. I think Professor Franklin asked for the summary by Friday, and if she approves, we can go ahead and make the necessary arrangements for collecting specimens.
Sure, I can see what other sources I can find in addition to the ones we discussed.
Okay, well, let's meet again tomorrow afternoon to get everything together before the deadline.
That's fine with me. Just let me know when you're...
That is the end of part 3. You now have some time to check your answers.
Now turn to part 4. Part 4.
You will hear a lecture from a professor in a biology class about bowerbirds. First, you have some time to read through questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
So today, I'd like us to focus on birds that collect objects, sometimes referred to as collector birds. These include such species as ravens, crows, and magpies. But first, I want to discuss bowerbirds. Male bowerbirds are very well known for gathering objects such as colored stones, feathers, shiny or metallic items, and even flowers and leaves. But unlike ravens, crows, and magpies, the male bowerbirds don't collect these objects just because they strike their fancy. Found in Australia and New Guinea, these gardener birds actually use the objects they collect for a specific purpose. The birds were given this name because of their habit of creating yards, gardens, or structures decorated with their collected items. So, the male bowerbirds construct shelters made of sticks, grass, leaves, twigs, and other debris collected from nearby trees. These shelters are known as bowers and are then decorated with the collected objects, so they are usually very easily recognizable. It's important to note that the bowerbird structures look nothing like nests. They are actually more like buildings than traditional birds' nests, many with walls, roofs, and pathways. But there is variety in the types of shelters they build. Researchers studying bowerbirds have now categorized the bowers into 3 different classifications. First, there is the mat or platform type of bower. It's usually an elevated pad, and the male bowerbirds put decorations on top of it or around it. The platform bower's design is fairly simple, but it is often lavishly decorated to make up for a lack of structural complexity. And then, the next type is the maypole bower. It is sort of a tower that's built around a small tree, but many have been known to reach heights of up to 9 feet. So the scale and complexity of construction is quite a bit more impressive than, for example, the platform bower. The maypole bower is also decorated with bits of collected treasure, although less extravagantly, as the structures themselves are quite attractive. The third type of bower has 2 walls that run parallel and sort of create an archway. These are called avenue bowers, and what makes them very striking is that the bowerbirds will even spread gravel around it to make a yard or a garden area. It is interesting to note that these particular types of bowers are often purposely located near attractive trees or shrubs so that they are in attractive surroundings. Avenue bowers are tent-like in structure, and like the other types, they too are decorated with feathers or other colorful debris. But, like other collector birds, the bowerbirds can be very aggressive when it comes to these collected treasures. Often, male bowerbirds will attempt to steal attractive objects from other males in order to make their own structures more attractive. Naturally, male bowerbirds are very protective of their bowers and become quite aggressive when thieves attempt to steal their treasures. So, let's look at the reason why the male bowerbirds go through all this trouble to build these structures and decorate them so elaborately. Well, it is all part of their mating ritual. The little homes are decorated in order to attract female bowerbirds and convince them to move in and become a mate. The female birds will come and inspect the bowers, and if they like what they see on the first visit, they return a second time to see if the builder is home. They check out the bowers again as well as their suitors. Male bowerbirds often perform a dance of sorts and urge the females to move into the well-decorated structures. And females will then decide whether or not they will mate with an interested male suitor. However, at this point, we come across a very interesting situation. Some female bowerbirds are more drawn to an attractive male with lots of colorful plumage or feathers, but with a rather simple bower with minimal decoration. Others are drawn more to a fancier structure and perhaps a less attractive mate. And so we do tend to see males that are less eye-catching build structures that are quite elaborate and intricately decorated. Attractive males, on the other hand, don't put as much work into their bowers. But then we do occasionally see less attractive males who don't put much effort into their bowers at all. And often they end up mateless. And vice versa, we occasionally see attractive males building very well decorated structures, and they can end up having several mates. Okay, now let's carry on with crows and ravens, which are...
That is the end of part 4.